All right, so the fun part of the project, tiling your actual shower here. So if you did all the planning, made sure that everything's nice and flat, and you kind of thought about your layout as you were framing things, this should be a really quick and efficient thing to put together, especially if you stay with something small and easy like a 3x12. This is really all we're going to be putting in here. And honestly, with this color, I think it's going to be enough. I don't think there's any need for additional borders, but that's all personal preference. It all depends on your own design. So as I was mentioning, we're doing these 3x12s, and then we're doing pebble stone on the floor. So the order of operation with installing tile, most of the time, I'm always recommending to do the floor first. In this particular situation, since we are using these pebble stones and we're doing the entire floor all the way out into the outside area of the shower, this is probably the only one that I kind of recommend doing after the wall tile. Just mainly because these are, river rock, and you can easily just butt them up against the actual wall tile and be able to get a nice look. There's really no sense in having to cut these. And honestly, we're going to be taking this all off the mesh and installing them individually. So this is one exception where I recommend doing after the wall tile, but in a normal circumstance, if you're doing larger tile on the outside floor, you want to set those first, then do the shower floor, and then do the walls. Main reason you want to do the outside floor first is so that you can even up your tile. That if you were doing mosaics or something in your shower floor, you want it to line up with the outside floor. Most of the time with larger tile, you have a thicker thinset layer, so you're better off to get that outside floor set first and then do the shower floor, and then do the wall tile, which will overhang the edges. It just makes it a lot easier to be able to have most of your tile overhanging the bottom tile. Basically, these tiles are going to be hiding that grout joint at the floor. But in this circumstance with the pebble stone, we're going to be doing that afterwards. So this is going to really be fairly simple. We're just going to be doing 4 tiles across the back. We do have to cut some of these. A couple of things that I would recommend that makes this a lot easier. One is using some good spacers. This is really one of my favorite types. This is just 1/16 inch gaps. All depends on what size grout joint you want. If your tiles are very imperfected, meaning like they're kind of like handmade or they don't have a very straight edge, pay attention to that. I always just go with the 16ths, but really with the way that this tile was a little beveled on the back, by the time I use this spacer, you're going to have a little bit thicker of a grout joint. It might even look like 1/8 inch in some circumstances. So just pay attention to that. Pay attention to the edge of your tile. If it's beveled out like this, just know that whatever spacer you use is actually going to be bigger by the time you go to grout it. Number 2 is a decent trowel. So with the 3x12s, we're just using this hybrid 3/8 by 1/4 inch trowel. This is made by Superior Built, but you can see how the grooves are kind of deeper and a little bit, they're not uniform. It's not like a regular square notch trowel. These are just kind of nice because you get a little bit more thin set than just your traditional 1/4 by 1/4. Basically, the ridges just give you a uniform amount of thin set, and then when you embed this, they collapse, and then you have a uniform adherence. So it's really about checking the type of coverage that you get. We'll pull off a tile, make sure that we're getting good coverage, but you can always move up. It's always good to have an extra trowel that's a little bit bigger. This is a notch trowel. This is going to give you a lot more thin set. I might end up using this. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty betting on that this 1/4 by 1/4 is going to work out well. But it is a good idea to have 2 trowels on site so that you at least can add more thin set easily with a bigger trowel. Another simple tool that really helps out, and this is not even a tiling tool, but this is a linoleum knife, and this really helps to scrape out the joints, move things around. I've been using these for years. Finally got a new one. The new ones definitely make it a little bit easier to use. And then just a decent grinder. I have a couple of blades, but this is a nice grinding wheel that will allow you to shape up things and be able to easily cut it. Now this is ceramic tile, so this is going to be like a really nice treat. It's going to be really easy to cut. Porcelain tiles definitely get a little bit more tougher. That's where you need to really spend a little bit of extra money on good blades for porcelain, but ceramic, pretty much anything cuts it. And then the big thing is a laser. It's a green laser. Doesn't really matter, just as long as you get some kind of laser so you can reference levelness. Biggest thing is making sure that you have that first row completely level, and then the rest of it's going to be a breeze. But a laser is really going to help you reference that. And then my next big tip would be Ardex. Using a good quality thin set is going to make your life a lot easier. We're going to be trying out this X65. I actually haven't tried this yet. I've used the X5, the X77. X77 is a really premium thin set that has a really great non-sag quality. This is kind of right in the middle between the two. So I have some big hopes for it, but it's a lightweight mud, 30 pounds, and it's supposed to cover the same amount that a 40-pound bag does. So pretty neat. I'm really excited, but really having a decent quality thin set like this is going to make everything easier, especially if you're a beginner or you don't do tile all the time. Something like this is going to give you a good 3 hours worth of pot life in the bucket. Gives you plenty of time to cut everything, you know, even take lunch if you wanted to, and you're not worried about all that thin set completely hardening up in that bucket. But really, this is a really helpful tool here, is getting a good, decent thin set. Hey everyone, so that was just one tutorial out of many tutorials I have in my latest course, the basement bathroom course. This is highlighting adding a new bathroom to your basement. So it goes through the entire process of cutting out the concrete, laying out your bathroom, doing the rough-in plumbing, the electrical, the framing, and then adding all new stuff, adding a new floor, a big concrete floor, making a curbless entry shower, which I think makes a lot of sense in small bathrooms, doing the mud bed shower pan. That is definitely probably the primary way you want to go over a concrete substrate. Electrical, the vent fans that I always love to use, the Panasonics, insulation and drywall, and then getting into the tiling process. And that's what this latest video is on. I hope some of those tips helped you out. For further viewing, check out my course. I assure you it's going to save you time, money, and best of all, keep you from being frustrated and overwhelmed in a project like this. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.